The power of silence. If you are here, it is because you want to have an evolved mind, achieve a connection with your heart, and evolve into the special person you want to be. Have you ever stopped to think that sometimes silence can be more powerful than any word? In a world where communication is constantly saturated with words, gestures, and noise, silence stands out as an underestimated yet extremely effective tool. It may seem counterintuitive, but the truth is that silence, when used the right way, has the power to establish respect, authority, and even profoundly influence the direction of a conversation or situation. This video will reveal how silence can be the key to improving your interactions, whether in professional or personal settings, and show how it can be your greatest leadership tool. When we talk about respect and authority, we often think of a firm stance, assertive words, or even an authoritarian attitude. However, there is a silent power that can be even more impactful. In this video, we will explore how you can strategically use silence to communicate more assertively without needing to say another word. After all, what we don't say often speaks louder than any well-formed sentence. Throughout this video, we will discuss how silence can be a powerful communication tool, teaching you how to use this practice consciously and effectively. Get ready to transform the way you interact with others and understand how silence can, in fact, speak louder than 1,000 words. Defining strategic silence. Strategic silence is much more than just a pause in conversation or a lack of words. Unlike casual silence, which may simply be the absence of communication, strategic silence is a conscious, intentional choice that is filled with meaning. When used correctly, it becomes a powerful tool of nonverbal communication, capable of conveying much more than words could. But what really defines strategic silence? First and foremost, it is tied to context. Strategic silence is not an emptiness. It is filled with the intent to achieve something specific. It can be used to demonstrate control over a situation, to allow space for reflection, or even to create a sense of authority. A classic example is leaders who know when to remain silent during a meeting, allowing their presence to speak for itself, without the need for excessive words. This pause creates a silent impact, forcing others to reflect on what has been said and often increasing the perception that their words carry weight. Silence also serves as a way to set boundaries. When someone speaks excessively or tries to manipulate a conversation, silence can be a subtle yet powerful way to regain control of the interaction. It's not about interrupting, but about making a strategic pause, without rushing to fill the space with words. This technique can be especially useful in negotiations or discussions, where silence generates a sense of authority, as if the silence itself is a decisive response. On the other hand, strategic silence can reflect patience and confidence. By choosing to remain silent, you demonstrate that you do not feel the need to constantly justify yourself or explain your decisions. On the contrary, by staying quiet, you convey confidence in your choices and send the message that you don't need to prove anything. It is an act that emanates strength and self-control, and in many situations, it is this silent confidence that generates respect. Moreover, silence can be a tool for active listening. When you pause while someone else is speaking, you show that you are listening attentively, without rushing to give your opinion or interrupt. This form of listening can be far more powerful than trying to intervene immediately after each sentence. It conveys respect for the other person's speech and allows ideas to deepen, creating a more balanced and respectful dialogue. In many cultures, silence is associated with wisdom and reflection. When a person chooses to remain silent instead of giving an impulsive response, they are often seen as more thoughtful, wise, and controlled. This type of silence is not avoidance, but a demonstration that words are chosen carefully, and that the response will be well thought out and relevant. In work environments or personal interactions, this approach is often interpreted as a leadership skill. Rather than rushing to give answers, the leader knows that the moment of reflection is as important as the final response. To illustrate the power of strategic silence, consider a leadership situation. Imagine a manager facing a tough question from their team. Instead of responding immediately, they pause and allow the silence to linger for a few seconds. This simple moment of silence not only demonstrates that they are carefully considering their response, but also conveys that they have control over the situation. In this case, silence becomes an extension of the authority and respect they have earned. Therefore, strategic silence is more than just staying quiet. It involves a deep understanding of context, human psychology, and nonverbal communication. It is an active tool that can be used to influence and shape interactions, creating an environment of mutual respect and natural authority. Silence does not only affect the dynamics of a single conversation, but it can have a profound impact on interpersonal relationships, both in professional and personal settings. When applied correctly, silence can be a powerful form of communication, helping to establish respect and authority. However, when misunderstood, it can lead to discomfort, misunderstandings, and even distancing. Therefore, it is essential to understand the impact that silence can have on our interactions and how to use it in a way that benefits our relationships. First of all, silence is often perceived as a sign of respect. In many contexts, especially in formal or leadership settings, the choice to remain silent while the other person speaks is a reflection of active listening and attention. For example, in a conversation, when you choose to stay silent, you are demonstrating that you value what the other person is saying, without the need to interrupt or rush your response. This type of silence creates an environment of mutual respect, where opinions and ideas can be explored without haste. Furthermore, silence can be an effective way to express authority. Imagine a situation where you, as a leader or figure of authority, are in an important meeting or conversation. By choosing to pause before responding to a question or suggestion, you create an atmosphere of control and confidence. Silence in this context is not a form of avoidance, but a way of carefully considering the words that will follow. This conveys the idea that what you are about to say is valuable and thoughtful, increasing respect for your opinion. On the other hand, silence can also be interpreted negatively, depending on the context and the relationship between the individuals involved. In some cases, silence may be seen as a sign of disinterest or even rejection. When two people are conversing and one of them remains silent for an extended period, without responding or interacting, it can be interpreted as a lack of empathy or absence of interest in the conversation. This type of silence can create emotional barriers and distance people. In personal relationships, especially between friends or partners, excessive silence can generate feelings of coldness or disconnection. In a professional environment, silence can also be seen as a form of manipulation or avoidance of confrontation. In some situations, when a person remains silent during a discussion or negotiation, it may seem like they are using silence to gain power or control over the situation. This strategy can be effective in certain situations, but it can also generate distrust or even frustration in others if they feel that the silence is being used to avoid a healthy debate. The key to understanding the impact of silence in interpersonal relationships is knowing how to balance and contextualize this tool. Silence can create respect and authority, but only when used consciously and appropriately. For instance, in a negotiation, silence can be used to make the other party reveal more information or to give everyone space to reflect before making a decision. However, it is important to be sensitive to the reactions of others. If the silence is excessive or misunderstood, it can weaken the relationship and generate discomfort. In personal relationships, silence can be a tool for introspection and reflection. In moments of disagreement, for example, choosing to remain silent instead of responding impulsively can help avoid words spoken in a moment of anger or frustration. This type of silence can allow people to calm down, process their emotions, and eventually return to the conversation with a clearer and more constructive perspective. Ultimately, the impact of silence on interpersonal relationships depends on how it is applied. When used intentionally, silence can strengthen bonds, increase mutual respect, and improve communication. However, it is important to be aware that silence is not an infallible tool. It should be used in a balanced way, always considering the context and the reactions of others. Silence is often an overlooked tool, but when applied wisely, it can be one of a leader's greatest allies. Leadership is not just about giving orders or being the most talkative person in the room. In fact, the ability to know when to remain silent can be even more powerful than any well-rehearsed speech. When a leader knows how to use silence strategically, they demonstrate control, confidence, and respect for their team, creating a more efficient and harmonious work environment. In many situations, the most effective leaders are not the ones who speak all the time, but those who know when to listen and take a pause when necessary. Silence can be used to reflect before making an important decision, which conveys an image of thoughtfulness and prudence. Instead of reacting impulsively to a situation or conversation, a leader who uses silence shows that they value reflection time before acting, which strengthens their authority and respect. One of the most effective ways for a leader to use silence is during meetings. When a leader refrains from speaking immediately after a presentation or proposal, they create an atmosphere where others feel more motivated to express themselves. This silence can encourage the team to think more critically, explore ideas more deeply, and even suggest innovative solutions. By remaining silent, the leader also sends an implicit message that they trust their team's ability to make decisions and collaborate constructively. Silence can also be a powerful way to mediate conflicts within a team. In situations of disagreement or tension, many leaders tend to intervene immediately to resolve the issue. However, the practice of silence can be more effective. By pausing, the leader allows the parties involved in the discussion to process their emotions and ideas before responding. This can lead to a calmer, more rational resolution, where everyone feels heard and respected. Silence in this context demonstrates emotional leadership and control, both essential for maintaining harmony within the team. Furthermore, silence can also serve as a tool of authority. By leading with silence, the leader creates a space where their words carry more weight. For example, if a leader is economical with words but always ensures their statements have a significant impact, silence precedes their speech and creates an expectation of what will be said. This strategic use of silence makes those around them value what they have to say even more because they know their words are carefully chosen and meaningful. Another crucial aspect of silence in leadership is the power to control the rhythm of communication. In a high-pressure environment, a leader who knows when to pause and reflect avoids rash reactions and provides calm amidst the chaos. Silence can be what helps clarify the situation, providing the necessary time for the parties involved to calm down and reflect before making decisions. In moments of tension, silence can also signal that the leader is evaluating the situation carefully and rationally. To illustrate this, imagine a leader who, during a crisis meeting, chooses to remain silent instead of providing a quick solution. This pause, far from being seen as a failure, demonstrates leadership that prioritizes reflection and strategic thinking. When the leader finally speaks, their words will be taken more seriously because the silence surrounding them has given greater weight to their decision. Thus, silence is one of the most powerful tools available to a leader. It allows them to communicate their authority subtly but effectively, creates an environment of respect and trust, and strengthens their ability to make thoughtful decisions. When used correctly, silence becomes a true hallmark of leadership, one that can transform not only how others perceive the leader but also the dynamics of the entire team. In an increasingly fast-paced world, where the pressure to make quick and immediate decisions is constant, the practice of silence stands out as a powerful way to allow for reflection. Often, we are driven to give quick responses, whether in work meetings, social interactions, or even in crisis situations. However, this pursuit of speed in communication can lead to rushed decisions that are often poorly thought out. Silence, on the other hand, creates the necessary space to think more deeply, thoughtfully, and strategically. The ability to create moments of silence and reflection is one of the most valuable skills in a leader or anyone who wants to improve their communication. By choosing to pause, you are non-verbally signaling that the moment requires care, introspection, and analysis before reacting or responding. This silence, far from being uncomfortable, provides a space for mental clarity, allowing you to focus on what matters most without being influenced by external pressures. When a leader chooses to remain silent before answering a question or making a decision, they create a moment of consideration. This time for reflection not only benefits the person in charge, but also sends a message to those around them that decisions are not rushed but based on careful analysis. Unlike an automatic or impulsive response, silence shows a more deliberate approach, which increases the confidence and respect of others. In personal interactions, silence can have an equally transformative effect. When you stay silent instead of immediately reacting to a situation, you allow the other person to fully express their thoughts or feelings. This creates space for a more genuine and less reactive dialogue, where the exchanged words are more thoughtful and less influenced by momentary emotions. Silence, in this case, acts as a catalyst for deeper and more reflective communication. Additionally, by creating space for reflection, silence can also allow you to connect better with yourself. In moments of stress or conflict, our tendency is to respond impulsively, reacting more to the emotion of the moment than to the situation itself. Silence creates a pause between reaction and response, allowing you to regain the mental clarity needed for a response that is more aligned with your goals and values. This space for reflection is essential for more assertive and effective communication. Silence is also a powerful tool when it comes to making important decisions. Rather than pressuring yourself to act quickly, the act of pausing and reflecting on the available options allows you to make more informed decisions that are less influenced by panic or external pressure. This space for reflection allows you to consider the implications of your choices, examine alternatives, and ultimately make a decision that is more aligned with your long-term goals. To illustrate, imagine you are in a difficult negotiation, where various parties are competing for different interests. Instead of reacting quickly to the pressure of the negotiations, you decide to pause. This silence not only creates space to reflect on the different options, but also sends a signal to the other parties that you are carefully considering your next move. The impact of this is clear. Those around you begin to realize that your responses will not be rushed and that your words carry considerable weight. This strategic pause is not limited to moments of crisis or high pressure. It can also be applied in everyday situations, helping to improve the quality of daily interactions. By choosing to create spaces of silence, you give yourself the chance to think and, at the same time, allow others to organize their thoughts before responding. Ultimately, silence as a tool for reflection is one of the most effective ways to enhance both the quality of decisions and the depth of communication. It provides an environment of clarity and introspection, where well-thought-out decisions can be made and where communication becomes deeper and more genuine. By adopting the practice of taking pauses and creating moments of silence, you will not only be communicating more effectively but also strengthening your leadership, empathy, and decision-making skills. Silence, when used effectively, can be one of the most powerful tools in moments of conflict. Often, our first reaction in a disagreement is to respond quickly, whether to defend our point of view or to try to solve the problem immediately. However, an impulsive response is not always the most constructive. Instead of rushing a reply, silence can create an opportunity to reflect on the best way to react and even help diffuse the tension in the conversation. When facing a conflict, silence should not be confused with passivity or avoidance. On the contrary, silence in a moment of disagreement is a conscious choice to create space for emotions to calm down and for ideas to be more carefully evaluated. By choosing to remain silent, you are not avoiding the issue, but rather creating an environment of greater emotional control for both yourself and the other person involved. One of the greatest benefits of silence in moments of conflict is that it prevents emotions from taking control of the situation. Often, in a heated debate, emotions can run high, leading to hasty responses that, in retrospect, may harm the relationship. Silence serves as a valve to release these emotions, allowing both parties to breathe, reorganize their thoughts, and ultimately choose a more thoughtful and constructive response. In some situations, silence can be the key to disarming tension. When two people are in disagreement, a silent pause may be the missing piece to break the cycle of verbal attacks and create space for mutual understanding. Silence allows those involved to realize that the situation does not need to be resolved immediately, and that taking time for reflection may be more helpful than rushing to a quick solution. This type of pause also sends a message that the words about to be spoken are important and that the response will be well thought out. It is also interesting to note that silence can be used as an empathy tool in moments of conflict. When someone is expressing their frustrations or difficulties, often the best way to show support is not to interrupt or offer advice immediately, but simply to remain silent and listen. This kind of active silence allows the other person to feel heard and validated in their emotions, creating a more open and respectful environment. In professional contexts, where conflicts may have more serious implications, silence can also be a way to demonstrate control and leadership. A leader who knows when to remain silent during a heated discussion shows that they are in control of the situation, without being reactive. This silence helps establish a calm authority, where those involved in the conflict feel that the solution will be approached rationally and balanced, without haste or aggression. The use of silence in conflicts also has the potential to promote self-awareness. When you give yourself time to stop and reflect before reacting to a tense situation, you have the opportunity to question your own emotions and reactions. This pause not only avoids impulsive responses, but also allows you to connect with your true intentions and goals in the situation. Rather than responding with anger or frustration, you can choose a response that is more aligned with the values you want to express. For example, in a dispute between colleagues, instead of immediately jumping into the conversation with a defense of your point of view, you may choose to remain silent, allowing the other person to fully express themselves. This silence may make the other party feel more comfortable speaking, while also giving you time to better understand the situation before responding. This can lead to a more effective and less emotional resolution of the conflict. Ultimately, silence in moments of conflict is a tool for emotional control and strategic communication. It allows the parties involved to have the necessary time to reflect and process the information, without the pressure of an immediate response. By using silence consciously, you not only improve the quality of your communication but also strengthen relationships by showing empathy, respect, and the ability to handle conflicts in a mature and balanced way. Trust is the foundation of any healthy relationship, whether personal or professional. Without it, communication becomes superficial, and relationships begin to deteriorate. In many cases, silence can be one of the greatest allies in building this trust. Although at first glance silence may seem distant or uncomfortable, when used well, it can strengthen the connection between people, creating an environment of mutual respect and understanding. One way silence builds trust is through active listening. When you remain silent and give your full attention to the other person as they speak, you show that you are genuinely interested in what they have to say. This kind of silence is not passive or evasive, but a clear sign that you value the other person and their ideas. By listening without interrupting or rushing to respond, you convey the message that you respect the other person's point of view, creating a safer space for dialogue. In a situation of conflict or disagreement, silence can be even more powerful. When you choose to stay silent instead of reacting impulsively, you prevent the conflict from escalating and allow emotions to calm down. This creates a space of emotional safety where the other person can express themselves freely, without fear of being judged or interrupted. This kind of silence builds trust by showing that you are capable of maintaining emotional control and handling difficult situations in a thoughtful and respectful manner. Additionally, silence can also be used to strengthen trust in moments of vulnerability. When someone shares personal or sensitive information, the immediate response should not be a comment or advice, but often a moment of silence that allows the other person to process their emotions and feel heard. This silence, far from being uncomfortable, demonstrates an attitude of respect and support, creating a trust-filled environment where the other person feels safe to express themselves more openly. For example, in a workplace environment, when an employee shares a concern or frustration with their manager, silence can be an important tool for building trust. Rather than immediately offering solutions or justifying a decision, a leader can choose to remain silent, giving the employee space to fully express themselves. This not only shows that the leader is listening attentively, but also that they value the employee's opinion and are willing to seriously consider their concerns. Silence can also be a way to build trust in friendships or family relationships. When two people are going through a difficult time, the immediate response does not need to be a solution or comforting words, but simply being present in silence, offering support without rushing to fill the space with words. This type of silence creates a deeper emotional bond because it demonstrates empathy, understanding, and a willingness to be there for the other person without forcing a reaction. Moreover, silence can also create a space where trust develops more organically. When you don't feel the need to fill every moment with words or reactions, you give the other person the freedom to express themselves authentically. This allows relationships to deepen naturally, without the pressure of maintaining a facade or constantly trying to impress. Instead of forcing verbal communication, silence creates an environment where trust can flourish from a genuine interaction. In the professional context, silence also plays a crucial role in creating a trust-filled environment. A leader who knows when to pause, not just to reflect but to create space for others to express their ideas, demonstrates that they trust their team's capabilities and value their contributions. Silence, therefore, is a sign that the leader does not feel the need to control every aspect of the conversation but trusts the autonomy and judgment of their team. Ultimately, silence is a tool that builds trust by creating a space where communication is respectful, deep, and genuine. By actively listening and allowing time for people to express themselves without rushing to respond, you strengthen the bonds of trust and create an emotionally safe environment. Silence, far from being an obstacle to communication, is a powerful and effective form of communication that, when used wisely, builds lasting and healthy relationships. Sign up and leave your message so we can help each other. You've come here and you've certainly learned. A little every day will make you connect with your heart and evolve your mind. Until next time.